Welcome, everybody, to All Hang Up and Listen, brought to you by Fatty Beer Company, Western New York's premier market and tap room, with over 300 beers to choose from at 8 different Western New York locations. Fatty Beer is one of Western New York's only kid and dog-friendly bars, open 11:30 a.m. till 10:30 p.m. and later, with live music, trivia, and entertainment at all 8 locations. Buffalo Logo Apparel, one of the greatest places to get all of your Buffalo sports apparel needs, whether it's your shirts, your hats, your hoodies. They literally have everything. They have our merchandise. They have Sabres merchandise. They have Bills merchandise. They have Eclipse merchandise. Probably too late to get it shipped now, as the Eclipse is tomorrow, but make sure you go check them out. BuffaloLogo.com, at Buffalo Logo Co. on Instagram and Twitter, at Fatty Beer on Instagram and Twitter, FattyBeer.com. Sabres, final nail in the coffin, most likely 99.9% likely. Lose in Detroit 3-1. Hurls, what happened?
Same thing that's happened the entire year. They got down early and they weren't able to have the systems in place and the opportunities to come back. And the team that got up early, they got up 3-0 in the first period, kind of like the first game of the year that I was in attendance for against the New York Rangers. They got down early, and a very good defensive hockey team shut down the neutral zone, packed in front of their net, blocked everything, and in that case, obviously a good goalie didn't need to do much. But tonight, similar to the Florida Panthers game last year, a replacement level goalie didn't need to do that much because they put themselves in a very bad position from the opening minutes of the game. And it's a microcosm of the entire season. They are the worst first period team in the league by a wide margin. They obviously had a lot of regression offensively, and it came back to bite them finally. After a few games of positive regression scoring, they finally reverted back to the ways that got them in this position in the first place. So that's exactly what happened, and you can say it's what killed the season even before tonight.
And it's so wild too, because like I had somebody like when I obviously we know who scored tonight or today for Detroit. I let it go last time he played him. I didn't really make a thing about it at all. I shouldn't tweet a thing about it. But I saw it again. The way that goal was scored, just the way he pushed himself through two Buffalo defenders. Not really too sure what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, that was just really, really bad defense.
Yeah, it was so bad. And I'm like, point per game player, power play, specialist. Started getting back those old feelings about the Neanderthals. I'm not going to say bad words. I'm not going to say bad words. I almost said one. The people who called me and you stupid for thinking that guy couldn't help this team get to the playoffs. All it would have taken was 3 additional wins, probably, on our current record to get this team to the playoffs. 3, maybe 4. And I would think I'm very comfortable in saying that we would have been able to accomplish that with Patrick Kane. Am I mad that Patrick Kane was not a Buffalo Sabre? I'm not trying to be a dead horse. No, I can care less. I give less of a shit. I'm not a Patrick Kane fan, regardless of what I've tweeted in the past. I do not care. Patrick Kane signs here in the offseason. I will not purchase a Patrick Kane shirt or a jersey. Sorry. I don't care. I don't care. Just the matter of the fact is, people like me and you said that guy is good enough to help this team. He still got it. And we were all called morons by a certain it's almost like tribalism on the internet with, how you have to stick to a certain way of thinking rather than just looking at basic context. And we were called idiots. We were called morons. And you know what? It would have been cool to have that guy as a Buffalo Sabre tonight. Didn't happen, but we weren't idiots, Hurls. And
no. Well, we knew that.
Yeah, we're not idiots.
We knew that. I will say, though, like, I'm over that. I don't really care. From a team perspective, I do think they actually did try to sign him. I think there was a concerted effort from both Kevin Adams, ownership. Obviously, Terry Pegula would have wanted it to happen because it would have put butts in seats. But I really do believe that they did do their best to do it. And another example of this team's slow start to begin the year being a reason that he likely didn't come. I think DeBrincat was a big pull for him. I think Detroit's fast start and them being a young, exciting team with obviously a pretty good chance to make the playoffs, also really helped his cause by going there. But at the same time, if the Sabres had gotten off to a better start and they were the same team early on that they were at the end of last season, his chances of coming to Buffalo would have been so much better, and we'd be having an entirely different conversation. But it's another example of this team's slow start, not only in games, but in this season. They were playing at a 73-point pace in October, November, and December. And they're probably going to end up with maybe 85, 87 points. Who knows what's going to happen in these last few games now that it doesn't really mean anything. But playing at a 73-point pace for the first 3 months of the year, you are putting yourself behind the 8 ball as bad as you possibly can. There's been every single opportunity in the Eastern Conference wildcard race to make the playoffs this season. If it was going to happen any year, it would have been the easiest relatively compared to other years this year. And just like all the other teams in the race, when they've had the opportunity to take control, even a couple weeks ago, that game in Detroit, to really, really take control before that West Coast road trip, they fell flat on their faces, and they keep doing it big games. In big games, even at the end of last year, in that game against the Panthers, Alex Lyon, it was 2-1. Devin Levi stood on his head. They were playing really, really well going into that game. They were scoring a lot of goals for the most part, and they got 1 goal against Alex Lyon. I think, obviously, the players are the players, and they're not scoring. But if you cannot get your team to generate more than 2 goals in 2 playoff games, you can't get rid of all the players. That's not going to happen.
No. You
got to try something new. It's not working. Like we said it last game, the past 2 games were pretty good, and it gave us like a 1.7% chance, and it probably saved Don Granato for the rest of the season. They got to look into making a change. And I think we said his job would be saved if they made the playoffs, and they're clearly not going to. You got to make a change. And I'm not necessarily confident that they will, but I would say that 75 to 85% of the fan base agrees. And I know you don't listen to the fans when you make these decisions, but if anything, you got to look at the results, and the results haven't been there for the past 2.5 years. So, yeah, I don't think they will either, but I really at least hope they're considering it.
Mm-hmm. It's got to be it's a fundamental thing at this point. Like, it'd be one thing if it happened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times this season. Even 5 times is too many times. But like, dude, we're talking like I think like 10 plus, right? At least, and 2-0 deficit early in the first.
I mean, the first period goal differential is insane.
Yeah,
like, that's reason enough to be fired. Just that, not everything else.
We've seen guys get fired this season for less.
Way less.
Yep. I don't know, man. I'm a firm believer that Don Granato is safe until maybe the 12 to 15 game mark of next season, depending on how they're playing. But if the thought process is you don't want to pay another coach to not coach for you, I mean, I know we've thrown his name around a lot.
He does not. He has all of the money in the goddamn.
He does, dude. He does. Like I don't.
I think it's a pride thing at this point. It's an ego thing.
It is. It's always an ego thing with them, man.
You should throw your fucking ego out the door and strip it down to the brass tacks and realize that you have the longest playoff drought in NHL history by 4 years now. 4 years.
In a league where it's not that difficult to make the playoffs when half the fucking teams make it.
Half the teams make it. And they've been, and for aside from, I would say 2 or 3 years in this 13-year stretch, they haven't been close. They have not been close. And we had that discussion about the Bills and their 17-year drought, and why this is so much different is because the Sabres have had opportunities to get better. They drafted a generational defenseman, number 1 overall in 2018, who is now our best player and, in my opinion, a top 5 defenseman in the NHL. He objectively is. Rasmus Dahlin is incredible. And anyone who says anything different about him is completely wrong. Owen Power is still 21 years old, but still drafted number 1 overall. He's had a tough year. I think he's bounced back recently. The discussion at intermission today about how he needs to play a little bit like Moritz Seider is insane to me. I think he's a much better player than Moritz Seider. And those guys largely do not know what they're talking about when it comes to specific aspects of players like that. It's just so frustrating because obviously the tanking has existed to put us in positions to be better. And every single time they've tried the build around that, they've failed because they haven't either had the scoring or the coach in place. This year they haven't had either, but they finally had the goaltending, which they haven't had since Ryan Miller left. Yeah. And they couldn't even take advantage of that. So it's hard, and it sucks that it didn't come through, especially in a good goaltending year. But yeah, at the end of the day, you need a full 3 phases to get it done, and they haven't been able to do that since 2011.
Yeah, listen, if it's about money, it's definitely about pride. That was about pride.
Sure, pride.
It's always been about pride with them, honestly. It's been longer than we've probably even realized. Dating back to LaFontaine's exit, it's about pride.
I don't know how you can have pride when you just consistently just lose. Like,
suck.
You need how does it not humble you to the point of exhaustion? Like, keep throwing the dart at the wall. Dan Bilesma didn't work, got rid of him. Phil Housley didn't work, got rid of him. Ralph Kruger didn't work, got rid of him. Don Granato, as much as we love the guy and like he's a great story, coming back from cancer, getting his first head coaching job in the NHL, players coach, everybody loves him. He seems like he at least kind of knows what he's doing, but he's not getting results. In a season where we all said it was playoffs or bust, did we not? Yep. So if they keep him, it's obviously very disappointing. And in that case, it's up to Kevin Adams to save his job. If he goes out this summer and actually signs guys like he didn't last year, and he makes a trade, if they draft that prospect in the first round this year, that's a failure.
Yeah, you don't. If they use that first round pick this year, he should be fired.
Unequivocal failure if they don't find a way to package that first round pick and one of Matthew Savoy, who is tearing it up in the WHL. But do you think he's going to make the team next year? Especially if you sign guys? Probably not. Yuri Kulik's coming on pretty strong. They say he's off limits. Why was he not up with the Sabres the past couple weeks?
Yeah.
Has Lucas
used them out, especially on that power play?
Has Lucas Rusek done anything?
Nothing. He's been invisible. You know, Tyson Jost, when he's played, been invisible.
Peyton Krebs, for the most part, has been invisible.
Invisible. I do want to give a shout out here because he's texting me right now, giving me a whole bunch of crap. Asked me, do you work ever? And I said, it's Sunday. I'm off today. And he goes, I work today. So glad I missed your squad not show up to work today either. So Mike Borden, we're right there with you on 2 goalies, 1 Mike. Sorry you had to work today. Not sorry that you had to miss that atrocious game. He also said I should be fired, and you should be fired. So
fire everybody.
Fire everybody.
You've said it before.
Fire everybody.
Fire all of the citizens and people born and raised in Buffalo, New York. Clearly, it's not.
Fire us all. Just fire us all. Fire us all into the eclipse tomorrow. Honestly, I think I'd rather stare straight in. People, please don't do this. I would think I'd rather stare straight into the eclipse tomorrow than watch another single game of Sabres hockey. Right?
Is it so? Are you not supposed to look at it directly?
Yeah, not without the glasses.
Oh, but if you have glasses, it's fine.
I think so. Yeah.
How intense are?
I'm not, by no means anybody watching this. I'm not an expert on that, so don't quote.
I'm sure there's. I'm sure there's educational articles from people that can be trusted that you can read on something like this. But I didn't know that.
Dignitaries have can tell you otherwise.
I didn't know that you can't look right into it. I'm glad I'm not home.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure really fuck up your eyes.
That's great.
But yeah, it's definitely. I mean, if you're worried about recouping money or not recouping money, then just fucking get Lindy Ruff on your staff somehow, and you'll recoup that money in a week. Whatever you're paying Don Granato to not be your coach. At this point, it's happened way too many times for it to not be an indictment of the coach.
Yeah, and not even just
twice in the last.
Not even just the coach; it's the staff. Clearly, it's
5-0 against Ottawa after the first period. I attended that game; it was atrocious.
In a must-win game, must-win. Like, do I think that UPL probably should have made that first save on Raymond. I do think he should have. I think that it was a good shot, but at the same time, the defenseman had a horrible gap and they let him go in unabated. And he put a good shot on net. I do think he should have made that save, but I'm not putting this on UPL. even Alex Tuck said after the game, in his first shift, had he scored that on his first chance, it would have been a much different game. Yeah, of course it would be, but the standard shouldn't be, oh, we need to score in the first minute to change the game. Like,
No.
You should be responsible enough in your own end for the first 10 minutes or even the first 20 minutes of the game where it's very important to stay within striking distance, knowing how bad you are at coming back from deficits in a must-win game. Like, lock it down. Play a 1-2-2. I don't care what you need to do, but they've done this so
figure that out
many times.
You make adjustments.
And the domino
doesn't do.
The domino just goes from there. They panic. And they panic because they don't know what to do because they're not getting the right message. So, yeah, it's really, really
and here's the thing too, is just like they played 50 minutes of great defensive hockey today.
I mean, once they got down 3-0, they were the better team.
Yeah. But to your point, and the person who I was getting into with earlier about, what the real issue, he says defensively, they're not good enough. I'm like, I think defensively, they've been one of the better teams the second half of the season. Realistically, they have been.
Since January, the goaltending and the defense has been really good.
Night and day different.
And
so I would take mediocre defense right now and bring me back the scoring that we got from the top guys last year, knowing that UPL has had this resurgence this season and finally, came into his own. I would take that team offensively with our current goaltender over whatever this has been all season.
Without question. I would take Team Chaos back in a second.
Oh my God, yeah. As long as you score more than the other team, it doesn't matter how many you gave up.
Like, we've seen UPL stand on his head. We've seen Devin Levi stand on his head. These goalies, and what I envision for next year, with hopefully both of them up at the NHL level, hopefully doing a somewhat even split of the games, I do think they'll be able to handle it. And in games that they don't, yeah, there are going to be losses. But if you're scoring at the clip you were last season, you're going to win more games than you lose, especially with better defense and better goaltending. So
that's Mike. That's one of my store managers from work. Yes, fire the entire city.
we're not Sabres fans anymore. We just got fired.
I want people to realize how great Darlene is. He was incredible out there today. Shame he can't drag these scrubs on into the playoffs. Just the most well-rounded defenseman in the world. I think he's not wrong. To your point, he's.
I would say top 5 for sure. I wouldn't call him the best defenseman in the league, but that's saying a lot, right? Like, I don't necessarily think he's better than Makar. I don't think he's better than Quinn Hughes. There's a few guys, Adam Fox. Obviously, we can name the top guys in the league. Mm-hmm. But if you have a top 5 defenseman on your team, that's saying something. Mm-hmm. So, and yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, if we want to talk positives, it's the same positives we've talked about the entire year. Peterka, again, looks really good. Tage Thompson has kind of come into his own. Obviously, he scored a goal tonight. I didn't think he was as good for the rest of the game, but he's been very good over the past 3 weeks.
Yep.
I thought Tuck had some good opportunities. That shot in the final minutes there where Alex Line was just standing there and he was like looking through the crowd and didn't even see it, and it just
didn't even move. Didn't move a muscle.
It was a turn. I'm not giving him any credit for that save, aside from just being low and in a good position. But you got to throw it on net, and I get it. But I do think that a little bit more presence of mind offensively from a lot of these guys would have helped their cause this season. The 3 biggest positives from the whole year are obviously JJ Peterka, Darlene being Darlene, and UPL. So you can hold on to a little bit of hope that the scoring is going to come back next year, and you have hopefully another perennial 30-goal scorer on your roster in Peterka for the next hopefully 10 years.
Maybe even Jack Quinn.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I think once Quinn gets his legs back and he gets healthy, he's going to have a 50, 60 point season. Yeah, 50. I mean, but these are 2 freak injuries. I don't consider him to be injury prone. I really don't. You can't, he tore his Achilles training, which is like a very, very freak accident. And then on the same leg, on a weird play on the boards, he probably broke his leg. So I wouldn't consider him to be. Matthias Samuelsson is injury prone.
Yeah, that guy's injury prone. Yes.
Yeah, he's absolutely injury prone. He cannot stay healthy, and he hasn't proven that he can. So until he proves otherwise, he's like, we can consider him to be a liability because he can't stay on the ice. That bloody mess from Owen Power tonight was disgusting. I hope he's
yeah. I agree with Don there. I would have liked a quicker whistle there from the Stripes.
That would have been nice.
All over the ice.
Guys, gushing blood from the fucking mouth. Like,
I love this quote from Blake. There can be no true despair without hope. I don't know. Granato probably. Some philosophical bullshit in the post game. Yeah, who knows? The Buffalo Sabres fall to 7-21-1 when allowing 2 or more first period goals. Imagine where they'd be if they didn't go 2-15-1 in the first 3 months of the season.
It's exactly our point, and that's a really good stat, and I appreciate that research. That is atrocious. That is so unbelievably atrocious.
Yep. I can't wait for them to fire Granato. I can't stand his past game interviews where he claims the massive losses and bad starts are due to small details. -35 in the first.
I mean, they like he's right in the sense like they are small details, but guess what matters in the NHL? Small details.
Yep. If they won 2 more games against the Ducks or Blue Jackets, we are still 1 point out. So frustrating, man. Our whole fourth line is fucked. Kudos for Greenway to finally growing a set at game 78. Clown. I don't think I considered Greenway a clown. I'm fine.
I disagree with that too. I think he's largely had a pretty good year.
Yeah. Considering the expectations for him after, the way last year ended, yes.
He's not a first-line player, but I do think he has had a pretty good year.
Keeping Granato is just willfully keeping the team at a 500 level. I don't disagree with that.
And I don't disagree either, but I will say that keeping this roster is largely what would keep this team at a 500 level. If they are able to go out and actually get guys and make meaningful hockey trades for guys that don't have no movement clauses to Buffalo, which is probably half the league at this point, I think with a little bit more depth offensively, another right-handed shutdown defenseman, which is saying a lot because it's hard to find, I do think this team can get over the hump, but they actually need to do something.
Benson and Quinn, our future youth stars, made poor puck decisions, poor puck management, turnovers after turnover pastry chefs.
I mean, Zach Benson made a really nice play to Tate Thompson for the goal. So
yeah, but that was after a really bad change.
I think he's also had 6 points in his last 4 games.
Yeah. Hurls applied for the assistant coach position. Power play specialist Matt Ellis is toast.
Yeah, I'll put my application in. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you might get a phone call, dude. You might get a phone call.
I don't think I'm qualified for that.
If they hired me, neither was he. He coached 13-year-olds.
No, for sure. But if they hired me, I'd be concerned. I'm not qualified for the job.
Dude, get the money and run. That's what I'm saying. Just get the money and run.
I mean, I do think
then you can go on that you can go on vacation permanently, like Marisa always says you do.
With the proper training, with the proper training and experience, I do think I could be pretty good at it. But no, I am not qualified to be an NHL assistant coach. But there are a lot of guys that are. So maybe think about going out and getting some of those guys. That would be helpful.
The New York Rangers had a disappointing round 1 last year and brought in Peter Laviolette. I really hope they upgrade coaches. I mean, is Lindy Ruff at this point an impulse thing? Like, too impulsive to go do?
I don't think
he's there.
So. No,
he's qualified.
I don't think it is. He's qualified, obviously. He's had years and years and years of experience.
And he'll sell tickets.
Which is they desperately need that right now. I think anyone aside from, gosh, I saw a tweet earlier from 2017, Brady Tkachuk, when he was playing on that Casey Middlestat U.S. World Junior team, and they played in Ralph Wilson, and they wore the Bills uniforms. He had an Instagram post that said something along the lines of like good win, let's keep it going, # Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
Gosh, if we could bring in a guy like that in.
Yeah.
I don't know if Ottawa would do it, given that they're a division rival, but if he's fed up and they want a fresh start, they want a couple young prospects and a few first-round picks, send them everything they want. for a guy like Brady Tkachuk.
Yep. I'm not. I wouldn't even rule out Dylan Cousins, man.
I wouldn't either. I absolutely would not. And that's like that. I mean, that is tough to say, obviously, given how his first 3 years went. But if you have a year like he did this year, it is potentially a reason to like, hey, let's try something new. It wouldn't be a 1-for-1 swap either. I think a Dylan Cousins and maybe a high prospect or a high pick for Brady Tkachuk. He's a Canadian kid. Like I don't necessarily think the Senators would not bat an eye at that. Like I think that they would actually consider that because you get a young guy with motivation to be better on a new team. He's a leader. He's obviously a pretty complete player. He just didn't score this season.
Yep.
I wouldn't be opposed to it at all. You need
here's a thought.
Both franchises need a breath of fresh air.
Here's a thought too. I know like we kind of talk about not bringing in players that are past their prime, but like I don't think there's anything wrong with them bringing in a guy next year that has been on multiple extended playoff runs, has won cups, can still score, is an instant locker room leader, and just a name, just a polarizing name. I'm not talking about Pat Kane. There is one name that is a free agent out there, surprisingly a free agent. He is a captain of his current team. Do you know who I'm talking about?
My brain is broken. Just tell me.
Steven Stamkos.
Probably couldn't hurt, right?
He's 34. Offer him 2 to 3 years, $5 million a year, because it doesn't look like Tampa's going to bring him back. I mean, they would have right by now, right?
Probably couldn't hurt to bring a guy like that in your locker room.
Yeah, like I would love a move like that because you're probably adding at least 25 goals to your roster next season. You're adding a guy who can score potently on the power play. You can put him on your PP2 and where Tage generally lines up from, or you can have him quarterback the whole thing on the opposite side, wherever you want to stick him. Honestly,
I'm just envisioning the behind the scenes closed door mic'd up of Terry Pegula saying, if we sign this guy, we're not only trying to make the playoffs, we're trying to win the Stanley Cup.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, I would love a move like that. It's not going to cost you a ton of money. It's not.
It's just like it's so Taylor
a year.
It's so Taylor Hall. It hurts.
Yeah, but Taylor Hall was looking to go to a team where he can get like a big payday. Like
I know, but like, do you think that Steven Stamkos is going to come here on a bargain?
I don't know.
No, absolutely not.
But at 34 years old, is $5-6 million a bargain?
5 would be. I don't think 6 would be.
And you have the cap space to do it. I'm just saying.
I think
2 years, 12 to 13 million, whatever you want to do.
I wouldn't like to go above 12. I wouldn't, but that's just me. I think, yeah. You
imagine that on your third line.
You need some second line. Yeah, and obviously he'd be pretty good on the power play too. Like you need a veteran presence. You need guys that have been there before, but you also just need really good players. And I think at 34, yes, like Steven Stamkos is past his prime, but he is also pretty good. But you also need youth.
He's got almost 40 goals this season.
You also need youth, though, right?
Youth. We have plenty of fucking youth, man. We don't need any more youth.
No. Youth in the sense of like a 25, 26-year-old that's been in the league for a few years that has proven that he's a good player. You know what I mean?
I am fine with signing a 3-time, or is it 2-time or 3-time cup, 2-time cup winner.
No, I agree, but also like he didn't win those cups himself.
Yeah, I know, but bringing that culture with him and that winning culture.
I mean, they said the same thing about it. They said the same thing about Eric Johnson.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, Eric Johnson was literally at the end.
No,
like,
I know.
I mean, like different. Eric Johnson was barely contributing in Colorado in his last.
No, they're two different situations. But I'm just saying, like, there is something to be said about a veteran presence and a guy that's been there before and has done it. But at the same time, like, yeah, you need the production, and clearly he can still do it. But also, like, he's got a very, very good team around him as well. And I don't necessarily think the Sabres are that far off. And you put him with the right line mates, I think it could. You put him with JJ
on the opposite side of Quinn.
Yeah, like you put him with Cousins and Quinn, or hopefully Tkachuk and Quinn. But yeah, it's an interesting conversation, and like, yeah, I would love that influence of energy into the fan base, into the locker room. Like they need to add 4-5 pieces to this team this summer,
Yep.
whether that's trade
Do we
or free agency.
and do we trust Kevin Adams to make those moves?
Well, I think the difficult part is that it's going to be tough to sell guys to do it. It is. It's going to be tough. And that's why you need to make trades. You need to use this
Agreed.
best prospect pool in the league that we've had for
Yeah.
17 years now, and all of the draft picks that we have. Give your first, second, and third round picks. I don't give a shit. Give 2026, 2027, 2028. Give all of those first round picks and go and get guys that can play.
Yep.
And you're going to have plenty of opportunity.
Money talks, bullshit walks, and Buffalo has all the money in the world to spend, even on short-term deals.
Yeah, well, he better get desperate, because if not, it's going to show, and the exact same thing is going to happen next year.
One last question from the Peanut Gallery before we get out of here. What do they do with Jeff Skinner?
Oh, boy. Well, given his contract, it would be pretty hard to move him, right? Like, let's say they were able to trade him to a contender and maybe retain half of his salary. Would that be something that you'd be interested in?
Yeah, you're gonna have to retain probably. I mean, is that like a Thomas Hurdle? Is that like a Tomas Hurdle thing? Like,
yeah.
I mean, you've got obviously different points in their career, but
you've got the space. But I will say this.
You would have to send them back something significant with Jeff Skinner.
Yeah, for sure.
And hope that they are going to make you retain like 15%.
I will say, though, that I don't necessarily think he's had that bad of a year.
No, he's not near the top of my list of players to move out.
No, and in the right role, in the right role on the right line, and even in like a good power play, which obviously needs to be better, I still think he can get you 30 goals.
He is not even in the top 5 reasons they didn't make the playoffs this year.
But at the same time, that contract is pretty big.
But here's the thing, dude. It's not like it's hurting them. Like, it's not like
no. Well,
it's not, man.
I would say defensively, he does hurt them, but that's not his calling card, right?
No, it's never been.
Yeah.
It's never been.
No, I know.
If he was scoring with Tage and Tuck at the clip they were last season, nobody would give a fucking shit about Jeff Skinner's defense.
No, I agree, obviously. And Tage got better defensively this year. I think kind of at the expense of his offensive game, tangibly at the expense of his offensive game when he was blocking shots. Yeah, I mean, as Jack said, it's going to be tough when you reference spot on the team. We kind of known him succeeding in the past few years on that line with Tage and Tuck, right? And now clearly, when we put our best player from this season on that line in Peterka, it looks like that's going to be a really, really good line.
Yep.
And that allows you the opportunity to break up the kid line. Let's say we keep Cousins and we don't trade for Brady Tkachuk, or we have Quinn on that other side and we add someone else to that top 6. I don't know if Skinner's a third line player. You know what I mean?
I don't know either.
So that's going to be difficult, because if he doesn't have guys setting him up, I don't know how much offense he can create for himself. Unless we add 3 or 4 guys and we have our top 3 lines like a top 9, not even a top 6. But that's going to be tough to do.
Yep. Again, we need to do a pod here soon, where we just take a look at every team's roster and find one guy that
I want him. I want him. You know
what I mean? I know we're playing armchair GM for a day, but we need to do that.
I mean, that'd be fun, obviously, because I think the fan base deserves to know who potentially could be available.
Yeah.
And
without nerding out, you know what I mean? We don't need to be
No. It's good to go through the list. Good to go through the list, and also go through the guys on each team that have full no movement clauses, right?
Yep.
The guys that are not even possible for us to get, because I don't think anyone is waiving their no movement clause to come to Buffalo. So I think that is where the discussion has to start. And then you can go from there and have realistic targets for how this team could actually be better. And I think we'll be able to find, like you said, maybe a guy from each team, maybe 2 guys from each team, that we can all at least hold on to a little hope that maybe Kevin Adams sees the same thing, and we can really go for
guys that probably have 1 or 2 years left on their deal.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked a lot about Brett Pesce, and I don't necessarily think Brett Pesce is going to get this team to the playoffs, but he couldn't hurt. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? 3 stars? And not that we needed to go over 3 stars.
No, I'm not even going to do 3 stars.
I wouldn't either, man.
I don't even know if I have one, to be honest. Gosh. Yeah, I really don't even know.
The equipment guy for Buffalo who helped,
Power get off the ice.
catch up on Power.
I will say, like, just to be somewhat positive, I thought Dahlin was really good again.
Yeah.
I thought, obviously, Tage scores another goal. I don't necessarily think he had his best game, but the production is good. And then Zach Benson made a nice play on that power play. Those are my 3 stars. And yeah, this is a great point from Jack. Byram and Yoki Haru have been horrible. Horrible.
That can't be that they need to go all in with Byram and Dahlin when they. I still understand why you broke them 2 up.
Yeah, I think they're just trying the Dahlin and Power thing, right?
It's kind of worked. Hasn't definitely.
No, they were really, really good for a few games. They were.
Yeah.
So
we're Byram and Dahlin.
Yeah, and I would say that Byram, obviously those first 3 games were amazing, and he really obviously made an impact, and that happens with the juice from a trade sometimes, like what we saw with Steve Bernier and Dinas Zubris. But you haven't heard those names in a while.
Steve Hines.
Yeah, and that you get that jump in those first 3 games, and now I think
Eric Robinson, when we got him that first game, he had a goal called
first few games, and you have that jam. I would say that he's currently trying to find where he's going to be within this team, and I don't think
he's a top pairing level defenseman.
Yeah, he absolutely is, and putting him with Dahlin I think is good because Dahlin can play anywhere. Anybody can play with Rasmus Dahlin, right? But yeah, he needs a new partner. Whether that's Mattias Samuelsson, if he's healthy next year, I'm not sure. We'll see. Like we said, like he's going to have to prove it to us that he can stay on the ice. I love Samuelsson. I think he can be a very good player, but he hasn't proven that he can stay healthy. So we'll see with that. But I wouldn't hate a Dahlin Power or any combination of Dahlin, Power, Byram, and Samuelsson as your top 4. And then maybe you keep Clifton, who I think has been better in the second half. Clifton, Yoki Haru, I guess, could be a 3rd pair, but do you really want that to be your 3rd pair? Probably not. Yeah. So you go out and get a guy like Brett Pesce. You go out and get any one of these defensemen that have proven themselves to be a good, like the commenter just said, a right-handed shot, a potential top 4 defenseman. Because Connor Clifton's not necessarily that.
Yeah. My final thoughts are I am going to thoroughly enjoy night 2 of WrestleMania tonight.
What happened night 1?
Huh?
What happened night 1?
Oh, that's right.
No. I'll give you 30 seconds.
You're going to give me 30 seconds? Well, it's The Rock returned and was electric. Had a phenomenal entrance, that 45-minute match. The guy hasn't had a full match in 12 years and was in a 45-minute match and was fantastic. The women's match to kick off the night, Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch. They could have.
Did The Rock? Did he fight Cody Rhodes?
Cody Rhodes rock bottomed him through the Spanish announce table.
Who won?
The Rock and Roman Reigns. So tonight is Bloodline rules against between Roman and Cody, but it's all setting up for Cody to finish the story. So it's I'm excited for tonight. There has been a lot of Easter eggs teasing this guy getting involved tonight. Mr. What 316, Austin 316, making a return tonight again at WrestleMania, doing this like Avengers angle. There's been Easter eggs that John Cena might get involved with the main event tonight. Triple H or Paul Levesque or however, whatever you want to call him these days, he did tweet something out at, ironically enough, a time. What was it? He tweeted out at 3:16 today. Their story has captivated an entire industry for over a year. Tonight, they main event the biggest WrestleMania ever. No matter the outcome after tonight, nothing will be the same. Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes tonight at WrestleMania. Nothing is ever done by coincidence in pro wrestling. There's no coincidences. A couple weeks ago, when The Rock returned as heel Hollywood Rock, he was making little girls cry all over them. Did you see those videos?
No.
There was so after a Raw, he busted Cody Rhodes open, like wide open, busted him open, and these little girls at home and their parent, God bless their parents for filming this and put it on the internet, by the way. The one girl was bawling her eyes out and said she's never watching Moana ever again, which I thought was hilarious. For those who don't know, that's like one of Rock's movies, animated. And the other girl, tears coming down her face, snot coming out of her nose, and she's bawling her eyes out because she thought The Rock killed Cody Rhodes. She thought he was dead. That is when you know you're doing well in the sports entertainment and pro wrestling industry, is when you have kids crying on the internet. That's when you know you're doing your job. The Rock has really brought another level to this storyline, and I can't wait to see how it all ends tonight. And I really do think, again, nothing by coincidence. During that segment for Raw, in the backdrop, there was a trailer that had on one side John Cena and on the other side Stone Cold Steve Austin, two of The Rock's biggest rivals throughout his career. And then at 3:16 today, it ain't coincidence. He tweets that out. Nothing is ever done by coincidence. So I fully expect a return of maybe one or both of those guys tonight. I'm excited.
That was way more than 30 seconds.
I know. I laugh at that.
That was
you're going to give me 30 seconds to talk about wrestling. You're going to get 5 minutes.
Just kind of wanted to hear who won. But yeah, that should be exciting. Good for you. I will not be watching, but I probably will be doing a segment on our TV show tomorrow about it. So I appreciate the information.
You should watch it, and if you need any information to share, I'd appreciate a shout out. If you're on TV on TMZ tomorrow, I'd appreciate a shout out.
Probably won't be, and I'm also definitely not going to watch it. So I might might need a recap. But now that the Sabres are dead, we'll have a little bit more free time, and then like you said, we can get into
the playoffs,
some free agent and trade hopefuls here in a couple weeks.
Yep. So with that being said, guys, we're brought to you by Fatty Beer Company, Western York's premier market and tap room. Over 300 beers to choose from at 8 different Western York locations. Make sure you go check them out. fattybeer.com, at fattybeer on Instagram and Twitter. Buffalo Logo Apparel. Go get all of your Buffalo sports apparel needs from there. Their shirts, your hats, your hoodies, our merchandise, Sabres merchandise, Bills, Bandits, Bisons. They have the works at Buffalo Logo Co. on Instagram and Twitter. BuffaloLogo.com. I am Duane for Mr. Connor Hurley over in sunny California. Sabres lose 3-1. Final nail in the coffin. I don't mean to sound excited about it. It sucks, but we will talk to you soon. When's the next Sabres game, Hurls?
I don't know.
We don't know, but we'll talk to you then. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the eclipse tomorrow. And as always, go Sabres.
tell